Hi Jennifer, Tom here. Looking at the page that you're trying to line up the columns for and the rows, there are a few things we can do to kind of get this to line up better. But let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about as far as the width parameters of a mobile phone. So if I were to look at the analytics, and we see over the past year, most all of your users are coming in on an iPhone. So 9,000 of your users are on an iPhone, next best is an iPad. So we should design for the iPhone, and probably the lowest common denominator would be the iPhone 6. So if we look at the screen port sizes, not the Plus, but just your Apple 6, 6S, here we go, 750. So if we were to design for an iPhone 6S, the maximum width in pixels would be 750. So let's take a look at that. If we look at some of our others, they go down, but I think we're okay in the 750-ish range for a maximum width. So looking at your table, if we wanted to set a max width for this table, I go into table properties. Currently your width is 783, so you're close. And let's say we change this to a maximum width of 750. And then, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to push this over to the left. Well, it looks like something is causing it to go to the center. Okay, we'll deal with that. Now each one of these tables, or each one of the cells in the table is going to have to add up to 750. So as soon as we went to 750, it brought it down by 30 some pixels. What we can do is, you see your $10 is trying to center a line, and number of copies is up, total cost, and that's because number of copies, as you can see, if you apparently hit the return marker and that pushed it down, maybe you were trying to line up this total cost. Okay, so the best way you could do this would be to align them across the top, or to bring this dollar sign over to here so that they match up left to right. So if I save this and take a look at it, now we're kind of lined up, but what it does is try to fill this at 100% of the width of the desktop version. So we need to kind of dictate in percentages the total. And so let me go back in and edit this. We know we're at 750. We know we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So I'm just going to do some educated guessing here. And we can say for this, that was a right click that I did to get inside this cell. I can say for this cell, we want the width to be 100 pixels. Okay. And we want this one to be 100 pixels as well. Or we can go with 50, since that's 47, so we're at 150. This one's a little bit longer, so let's go with cell properties of 200 pixels. We're up to 350. Number of copies, we'll go with 200 pixels as well. And the total cost, we go with 200 pixels. So we're like 200, 400, 600, 150. I guess we can pull that one in a little tighter. Is this one? You get the general idea of how we're clicking inside these cells to dictate the width. So let's try 50. See if that pulls it in. And save it. And now we have they're starting to line up a little bit better. Granted, we still have some wrapping of the longer text there, so let's see if we can shore that up a bit. Or even, let's see if we can pull this in. And see if it'll recognize that. You've got this difficulty trying to get these longer ones to fit, so maybe if we went with a shortened version of NO, number of copies, or even better yet, the number of copies is a £. Number of copies. Too far. And let's see if that'll allow us to pull this over a bit. Now there is such a thing as a vertical, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, so let's get all these lined up first. Get rid of these return markers. I don't know what your total costs are going to be, but let's try to keep these all on one line across. So total costs, and I guess we could probably throw an underline in there. Oop. And since we have no others to line up, we can do a total and close there. And we don't have any other return markers to deal with, so let's see how that lines up. So now we have our longest do the sharks glow in the dark fitting along on one line. I guess I don't really like that underline because going is almost like dashes. So let's clean that up. Hopefully you get the general idea of trying to keep these all on one line. And if you do get into a situation where you want this to align, let's say you want these to line across the top, you can do a thing that's called vertical alignment. Vertical alignment tells it to align across the top, and that'll push it towards the top of the cell. That's another way to align them. You know, the default is to the center of the cell. But what was getting you is the wrap on these, and that's what's pushing it down into a second column. Now, even though this is taking up 100% of the screen, if we were to view it as it would look on an iPhone, so here's iPhone 6, 7, and 8, it should fit. So even though it does squeeze it, it is fitting on a cellular phone. Otherwise, it would be wrapped. If it were larger than the 750, it would wrap it. But if you're hoping people will print this out, you know, they'll be looking at it on a desktop anyway. So let's kill that off. At least you know it's going to fit, and you can line these up. So there's Nothing against using tables other than that most people that do it do a fixed width in pixels instead of a percentage, and that blows it left to right as far as viewing it on a phone. They'd have to scroll to the right to see what the rest of this table is. On a desktop, at least now, you can see that they are lined up, left to right, knowing that in the row itself, I guess you would call it the vertical alignment, is by default going to the center. So whatever your largest piece is, in this case, that photo, if I were to take it out, it would, take the lowest width that it could, but with the photos there as well. I don't see any other. That's kind of how you clean up. So you can use a table. Just try to keep, again, right-click, table properties, fix the width at 750 pixels across. That way, at least people viewing it on a mobile phone can see it. So hopefully this has helped. If not, let me know, and I'll keep trying to explain why you really can use tables, but the preference as far as the community is not to. Thanks.